The movie begins with a narration of the war of Nazi soldiers against the Allied countries. A Nazi soldier is riding a white horse and inspecting the remains of battle when he has jumped and killed the Sergeant Don Collier, also known in war as War Daddy. War Daddy lets the horse go and goes back inside the tank named Fury. Inside are his troops, namely Boyd Bible Swan, Trini Gordo Garcia, and Grady Kunas Travis. Kunas is fixing them when he blames War Daddy for what happened to them. They were all messed up and devastated by the death of one of their comrades when they re-attacked. The right timing for Kunas to finish fixing Fury, they head out in the battlefield. Back in the camp of the Allies, War Daddy is greeted by Sergeant Binkowski. After talking for a while, War Daddy is approached by a soldier and asks where the rest of the platoon are, but War Daddy and his men are the only ones left. Meanwhile, Bible, Gordo, and Kunas talk about Red, their fallen comrade. War Daddy then arrives and gives an order to them. Alone, War Daddy is seen devastated by Red's death too. After a while, he is approached by Private Norman Ellison. Norman introduces himself as War Daddy's new assistant driver and bow gunner. Looking at Norman, War Daddy cannot believe what he is hearing. Norman Ellison just got in the army for 8 weeks. War Daddy tells him to go to the rest of the troop, follows orders, and not get too close to anyone. Norman finds the others fixing Fury. Gordo takes his bag and looks for a cigarette, but only finds a book. The three ask him about his job in the army and intimidate him. Then Kunas orders him to clean the insides of Fury. Norman, for the first time, sees the inside of a tank. He starts cleaning the blood off. When he spots a torn-off face, he immediately gets out of the tank and puke. Meanwhile, War Daddy is talking to other soldiers about their situation when an SS soldier prisoner is brought into the camp. War Daddy and the others attack the prisoner, but he is stopped by his comrades. He then tells Norman that he should kill every German soldier he sees. It turns out that Norman hasn't killed anyone yet. War Daddy gives him a gun and Kunas teaches him about it. War Daddy proceeds to talk to other soldiers about their next move. War Daddy will be the platoon sergeant for their mission. After the discussion of the plan, they mount up and head out. On their way, they drive past people evacuating. War Daddy warns them to stay alert for hidden enemies among the people. Then Norman notices someone from the tree line but hesitates to shoot it. Unfortunately, this causes a successful ambush by the enemy. A tank explodes and Norman sees his soldier burning and shooting himself to death. War Daddy immediately chases the enemy and kills them. The enemies who ambush them are just kids. War Daddy gets back to Norman and scolds him for hesitating to kill the enemy. Now, Norman carries the burden of someone dying because of his negligence. War Daddy takes the lead of the whole platoon and proceeds with the mission. They reach their destination and a soldier greets them. The soldier takes War Daddy to Captain Wagoner. He's frustrated to know that they didn't send the sufficient number of backup he asked, but he trusts War Daddy, so he's still somehow confident with him. They discuss the mission to rescue the captain's pinned down soldiers in the enemy's territory. Then they gear up and proceed with the mission. The platoon reaches the pinned down soldiers and starts rescuing them. Tanks in front, soldiers at the back. Then the enemy start firing at them and a shootout broke out. The enemies have strong machine guns and anti-tank weapons. Meanwhile, Norman is still not used in fighting. A soldier was about to shoot them and cannot shoot back because he's panicking while reloading the gun. Fortunately, Bible saves him. Gordo scolds Norman, then orders him to shoot the enemy lying on the ground. Norman doesn't want to, thinking they were already dead, but Gordo insists on double tapping them. Norman breaks down and doesn't want to fight anymore. War Daddy scolds him and Gordo consoles him, saying it's all part of the war. After a while, they successfully defeated the Nazi soldiers. A soldier approaches a dying man and prays for him. War Daddy talks to Norman about his mistakes. It turns out that Norman is not trained for combat, he's just been pulled out and sent to Germany. Then other soldiers caught a Nazi soldier wearing an American jacket and toys with him. War Daddy stops them and orders Norman to kill the Nazis. When he refuses, War Daddy wrestles the revolver into Norman's hand, forcing him to pull the trigger. The Nazi dies with the revolver in his hand, traumatizing Norman. Bible picks him up and they go back to the group.